Well, the festive season is approaching quick and fast, and after a tough year, you'll be forgiven for wanting to treat loved ones with gifts and goodies. But with many heading to online malls, cyber criminals are currently lurking to treat themselves to your money. Experts are calling for mass public awareness campaigns so people can be alive to the dangers. So let's find out how you can protect yourself with Duane Nicol, an expert in cybersecurity from Mimecast. Duane, thank you for your time and good morning to you. I think before you give us those tips on how to better protect ourselves online, let's talk about this statistic that is quite worrisome. The 2021 report finding that South Africa had the third highest number of cyber crime victims worldwide. This is a worrying stat.
Absolutely, Jamila, and it just gets scarier year after year. The research never gets any better. And it just portrays a really good picture of how we live in this social society where the information we share online is being used against us, especially online. October being Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we're ramping into the festive season. And I think it's poised to be a perfect time of the year to try and educate people, not just employees, about the importance of cyber risks online. As people are moving, as you mentioned, toward online shopping, in one of the heaviest seasons of all year round, we're moving into Black Friday. Criminals take advantage of that. We're moving into Christmas. People take advantage of that. And they use that information we share against us to craft their attack and make, something that looks exceptionally legitimate so that they can prey on our accounts, and obviously leads to mass fraud.
Yeah, and Duane, I think that education you advocate for is so important because you mentioned such a good point about the money that can be lost online from shopping if we're not careful, but also identity theft. I mean, oftentimes I hear people say, oh, I've lost my account on social media, so I've lost my followers. I'm just going to open another account. But I just wonder if they're also cognizant that, hey, someone might have your personal information, that might have hacked into some of your most sensitive information, and who knows what they could do with it.
What you just said now is the most scary thing. Who knows what they could do with it? So what a lot of people prey on is the fact that human beings generally are fairly lazy in using multiple passwords. I myself am the same, right? So we typically use an array of passwords the same across multiple systems. So the first thing a hacker does once they compromise a username and a password is try and log into multiple other applications to see what key, what door they can unlock with this new founded key. So, while it may be something like a Facebook account or something on social media, that could very well be the same combination of credentials you use for your bank account. And once someone's got access to your bank account with the credentials, they pretty much have free rein to do what they want. And I'm glad that the banks have brought in, specific measures to defend against this, like multi-factor authentication, i.e., before completing a transaction, you've got to okay it on your phone. But with SIM card fraud now moving into that second stage of attack, it's just as easy to have done a SIM swap before that attack even takes place. So it shows you the complexity at which these criminals take effect and craft their attack right up until the point you think you've innocently clicked a link or done something simple. Meanwhile, your identity's stolen, people are making transactions for airplane tickets on your bank account, and you have a pretty terrible Christmas season.
Yeah, and we don't want that one. We've been through a lot already, Duane. So give us some tips, please. How can we better protect ourselves online?
So I think there's a couple of things that we can do at a South African level, right? I think, verification is such an easy step. If you're not expecting this phone call from a bank or a financial institution or any institution whatsoever, there's no specific reason that you shouldn't verify that information or that call's legitimate with the actual vendor themselves, right? There's nothing that they're going to do. They're not going to laugh at you for verifying it. And in most cases, you might have stopped a criminal activity from taking place in your account. The second thing, and especially as we ramp up into Christmas and into the festive season in general, there's going to be a lot coming at you, as a consumer in South Africa. And just remember, if it's too good to be true, it most likely is. No brand, no online retailer is going to be giving you 80% off on that new bicycle that you can't wait for. No retailer is going to go to that length. So if that is the case, there's a very simple way to verify that those ads are real, and that's go to the real website and check those out. And I think the final thing is an easy one. I look at COVID as something, and I don't like mentioning the pandemic because it's it's a 2-year flurry of things going wrong. But reality is it's taught us an incredible amount of, the persistence that we have as humans against the behavioral change of sanitizing your hands and wearing a mask. And it became second nature to us before we left the house or entered the supermarket, right? Those were just things that we learned. And learning these types of things to keep yourself safe is just as simple. You've got that apprehension in the beginning, but ultimately it will help keep you safe in the broader scheme of things. And if you use that kind of thinking, these things will become second nature to you. So verifying that click, verifying that telephone call, checking that SMS link before you go and action it and enter in some credentials. It's a scary environment out there in the cyber world, but with so much coming at you, it's about blocking out the noise and really looking at what's in front of you before making any action, which takes a second of your day.
Yeah, I mean, these are all preventative measures which are so important, but I just wonder, what if the damage is already done? What happens if you've already lost your money from someone who hacked into your account, or you clicked on a wrong button and there you go, a lump sum of your money is gone? Are the banks willing to assist you? Can they get you that refund? Are they able to track that money? Are they able to track the hacker and apprehend them? I mean, if the damage is done, what happens next?
Look, it's a great question, and in many cases, the banks do a great job at helping consumers reverse transactions that are fraudulent. I mean, you very quickly know that there's a fraudulent activity. If you're sitting at home in Cape Town and a transaction goes off at a retailer, and then 10 minutes later something happens in Johannesburg, there's no way that could be a real transaction. So the banks are pretty good at helping us, and they've definitely, as I mentioned earlier, they've increased the measures of security of multi-factor authentication, cell phone verification, etc. So they do a good job. I think from a forensic level, on the higher level, when people are doing big transfers, a couple of years ago, there was that thing around people doing bank transfers into trusts for purchasing homes. And these were massive amounts of money, millions of rands at a personal level. And our fraud department in cyber risk did a really good job at unfortunately, some people will take the place, and I've got a point on that. But the learning happens, and then we put in measures to protect that from future happening. Now, when that thing happens, for me as an individual, for consumers in South Africa, I think a great point of inflection there is to be vulnerable with that information, teach other people about what just happened to you in your own personal life. I think sharing stories about being caught out for cybercrime is no longer a laughable moment. People are being caught left, right, and center, global. CEOs get caught. Human beings get caught. These attackers are crafting their attacks in ways in which, the average consumer walking on the road doesn't have any idea to. These are expert criminals with doctorates in information security. These are educated individuals crafting attacks against us. And I think if we have a general uplift of awareness, we frustrate criminals to the point where they stop attacking us, or stop attacking, with a more specific lens, and cast more general nets, which is easy to avoid. That's a big point I'd like to have raised.
And I appreciate you speaking to us about this. You've just helped so many of us, Duane. I appreciate you sharing this information, especially ahead of the festive season. Duane Nicol, thank you so much, a cybersecurity expert at Mimecast.